On the morning of September 14th, 2007, Andrew Gosden got up, put on his school uniform, and left home as usual, saying goodbye to his family. But Andrew didn't go to school that day. Instead, he withdrew money from his bank account and bought a one-way ticket to London. That was the last time anyone saw him. Andrew was born in Doncaster, South Yorkshire, in northern England. His parents were Christians, but didn't push their beliefs on him, giving Andrew the freedom to make his own choices. He preferred staying at home, either spending time with his family or being alone. At school, Andrew was an excellent student, particularly in mathematics, where he was seen as very talented. Teachers and classmates described him as intelligent and gifted, with many believing he had a bright future and might attend Cambridge University. Andrew had a perfect attendance record and no disciplinary issues. Though school didn't always challenge him, he hoped the next academic year would be different. In the summer of 2006, Andrew attended a program for gifted students at Lancaster University. When he returned, his parents noticed he was more engaged and lively than usual, which was a change from his normally reserved nature. Andrew had a few close friends at school, all of whom were high achievers like him. While they spoke well of Andrew, he didn't spend time with them outside of school. He showed no signs of mental health problems, and there was no evidence he was bullied. His father described him as a thoughtful person who kept his emotions in check, and his teachers saw him as shy and quiet, but mature for his age. Andrew was also known to be a bit absent-minded and lacked practical experience in everyday situations. Andrew wasn't interested in socializing much. He rarely used a mobile phone. After losing the one he got for his 12th birthday, he didn't want it replaced and asked for an Xbox instead. He enjoyed playing video games and listening to heavy metal music. During the summer of 2007, Andrew's parents suggested he visit his grandmother in London, a trip he had made before. Andrew knew London well and was comfortable using its underground system, but he decided to stay home that summer. In the days before he disappeared, Andrew changed his routine for the first time in his school life. Twice, he chose to walk home instead of taking the bus. The walk was 4 miles and took about an hour and 20 minutes. No one knows why he did this. The night before he went missing, Andrew came home, had dinner with his family, washed the dishes, worked on a jigsaw puzzle with his dad, and then watched Mock the Week with his mom. It was a typical evening with nothing unusual happening. On September 14th, Andrew woke up in a bad mood, which his mother noticed because it was unlike him. He was usually a morning person. At 8:05 a.m., he left the house, and Reverend Alan Murray saw him crossing a local park on his way to the bus stop. But instead of getting on the bus, Andrew walked to a nearby cash machine and withdrew 200 pounds, the most he could take out in 20-pound notes. A few minutes later, a neighbor's CCTV caught Andrew returning home. He went inside, changed into black jeans and a Slipknot t-shirt, left his blazer on a chair, and packed his keys and wallet into his bag, which had heavy metal band logos on it. He also took his Sony PSP but didn't bring the charger. He left behind his passport and 100 pounds in birthday money. By 8:30 a.m., Andrew was seen walking toward Doncaster railway station, where he bought a one-way ticket to London. The clerk suggested he buy a return ticket since it was only 50 pence more, but Andrew insisted on the one-way. At 9:35 a.m., Andrew boarded the train and sat next to a woman who later recalled that he was quiet and focused on his video game. Around the same time, the staff at Andrew's school noticed he wasn't there. Since Andrew had never missed a day, the school secretary called his parents and left a message on their answering machine. The train arrived at London's King's Cross station at 11:20 a.m., and by 11:25 a.m., CCTV footage showed Andrew leaving the station. This was the last confirmed sighting of him. When Andrew's parents returned home from work, they thought he was in the basement playing video games, as he often did. But when he didn't come up for dinner, they realized he wasn't home. They called his friends, thinking he might have lost track of time, but he wasn't with them. They then contacted the school and found out Andrew hadn't been there all day. A mix-up at the school meant the initial message had been sent to the wrong parents. Worried, Andrew's parents called the police and started searching for him themselves, retracing his usual route to school, but finding nothing. They made missing person flyers and handed them out in the neighborhood. When it got too dark to keep searching, they went home to wait for the police. The next day, the police searched the area, including nearby bushes, but found nothing. A few days later, the woman who sold Andrew the ticket to London came forward, confirming that he had traveled to the city. She remembered him because he insisted on buying a one-way ticket, even though a return was only slightly more expensive. Following this lead, Andrew's family went to London and distributed flyers in areas where they had family, thinking he might have gone there. The police asked the British Transport Police to review CCTV footage to track Andrew's movements. Initially, they couldn't find him in the footage, but after 2 weeks, a Yorkshire police officer reviewing the footage identified Andrew by the distinctive double ridge on his ear. In the first 2 weeks after Andrew's disappearance, several people claimed to have seen him in various places. Some of these sightings seemed credible to the family based on how they described Andrew's behavior. One sighting was at a Pizza Hut on Oxford Street, about 2.5 miles from King's Cross Station. Other sightings were reported across London near train stations and museums, but Andrew's father believed the police didn't follow up on these leads thoroughly. A year later, a man went to a police station in Leominster, saying he had information about Andrew. However, the station used an intercom system after hours, and by the time an officer arrived to speak with him, the man had left. This was unusual because the station was in a business park, not easily accessible by public transport, suggesting the man had made a special trip. The police later asked the man to come forward again, but he never did. Later, someone claiming to be the same person wrote anonymously to the BBC, giving details about a sighting of someone fitting Andrew's description in Shrewsbury in November 2008. It was never confirmed if this was the same person who visited the police station, and the sighting was also not confirmed. In September 2009, Andrew's father, Kevin, made an appeal to the gay community, considering the possibility that Andrew might have been struggling with his identity and hadn't been able to talk about it due to his parents' religious beliefs. Over the years, the family and police have repeatedly tried to get more information, using both traditional and social media, but no new leads have been found. Despite many reported sightings of Andrew in the same area, none have been confirmed. Some people claim to have seen him getting off a train from Waterloo at Mortlake Station 5 days after he disappeared and walking along Sheen Lane. But each time, the police and the family couldn't verify the sightings. The family has criticized the way the police handled the investigation, saying they didn't follow up on leads often enough and focused more on the family, suspecting them of being involved in Andrew's disappearance. Kevin said the police illegally recorded their conversations and pressured him to admit he was responsible for his son's disappearance. Some leads and sightings were not investigated for weeks, so any real chance of finding Andrew might have been lost by then. In 2018, when Andrew's parents appeared on the Generation Y podcast, they mentioned that someone had reported an online conversation with a person using the name Andy Rue, which was known to be Andrew's nickname. This person said their boyfriend had left them and they needed £200 for rent. When someone offered to send money, the person said they didn't have a bank account because they had left home at 14. This lead was investigated, but the police couldn't identify the individual. Thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts or theories about Andrew Gosden's case, feel free to share them in the comments below. Stay safe and see you in the next video.